Before I start this video, I just want to apologize if I look a bit sweaty today. And that's for the sole reason that everyone's power here has basically shut down for some reason, and it's going to be back for around, I'm guessing, 3 p.m. So it's like 3 hours from now. So I have to endure this heat, but I still decided to make a video whilst I'm doing nothing at the moment. So, anyways, whilst I am basically just chilling or vibing here, I've come up with a thought into which I have actually I have actually experienced arrogance lots of time, and I know some of you guys also have. But the thing is, there are times in which I don't know if you guys could relate to this, but there are times where I don't really know whether I am being arrogant or just being confident, because those are two words or two actions that gets misinterpreted quite a lot of time: arrogance and confidence. Now, my experience with arrogance is a bit of an odd feeling, or somewhat odd. For, I don't know if you guys know this, but have you ever felt where on the outside you don't act like you're arrogant, like you act really humble, you don't really say that much about yourself, and whenever someone praises you, you don't know how to feel. But deep on the inside, you're just kind of feeling like a little bitch. No, not that kind of little bitch. You feel like a big one. You feel like you're the king. You feel like you achieved more than the persons or each persons that you're talking to. You're thinking to yourself that they are below you. Well, that's the kind of arrogance that I've been experiencing quite a while now. Because some of my friends might think of me as a humble person. I could say that, yes, sometimes I am humble, but I do have the humility to say that there are times where I am arrogant to the point where I mentally or deep inside I label myself higher than some of others. And that is a bad arrogance. That is a bad type of arrogance if I were you. But I mean, I still try to hold it in. Like, I still try to counteract it by just basically trying to be more humble to myself. And for a while, that is actually working. Um, if you think that I still think that I am I am like this, or that I am greater than you or greater than anyone else, not really. Not really. I mean, there are also times where I doubt myself, where I get disencouraged by myself, or just like my last video where I talked about my own insecurities. So my arrogance is like, it's like, I guess they're visitors, or they're like sickness. They come and go for a split second. Now, for me personally, I think there are two types of arrogance. The first type is basically the most common one that I think I see quite a while. Or this is the type of arrogance where you are both arrogant inside and outside of yourself. Now, what am I talking about that? Well, basically, these are basically the types of people who are arrogant on the outside, where as in they talk highly of themselves, and these are basically the types of people where that pisses you off whenever they don't know anything to talk about other than themselves or their achievements. And deep inside, they also feel it that way. They feel like they are the king. They feel like they are above you, and that you are actually nothing to them, but a speck of dust or something. I don't know. And if you meet those types of people, I could assure you that you are going to be pissed, and that's normal because those are the types of people who don't really or who can't really sympathize with you. And or those are the types of people who only knows nothing but only themselves. Like they wouldn't give a shit about you. They just cared about themselves. They're just waiting for you to finish your story, just so they could actually share their own achievements and overshadow you. Now, you, like I said, arrogance is misinterpreted by confidence, but I could also assure you that you could tell the difference between a confident person and a arrogant one. You would all, for me, I think you could tell the difference as to based on how many times, or how often do they praise themselves too much. If they praise themselves too much to the point where all of their conversations, or every time you have conversations with them, it always has to do with them being great, their achievements and all of that, then there's a high chance that they are really being arrogant about it. But from time to time, this is not for me to say that you should not share your achievements and all of that. Basically, share them, of course. Like share them with your friends, your families, all of that. But keep in mind that you are also talking to a real person, and that they might also have achievements that they want to share, or anything that they want to share. Now, the second type of arrogance is basically not being humble on the outside but being arrogant on the inside, which is basically my case sometimes. But these are basically the people where you might think on first glance that they are actually really humble, that they're kind and all of that. These types of arrogant people, it's hard for them. It's hard to spot them. You might think that they are just basically being humble and all of that shit. But deep down inside, they actually feel like they're high above you more, or like they feel like they are on the upper echelons. Now, I'm starting to sound a bit crazy here, but basically, these are just the types of people who think highly of themselves out inside, but not really that much, or just humble on the outside. Now, this type of arrogance could be good, but according to or depending on to which how much arrogance is actually inserted on you on the inside. Because you see, arrogance or this type of arrogance inside you kind of need to have some in order to push through on things. Let's say, for example, you're going on resistance training or basically just working out and all of that. Now, in order to lift your weights, of course, you're not going to be thinking of basically failing the rep or basically failing the workout because that's just gonna demotivate you. Instead, you need to think deeply inside you that you are better than this or that you could achieve more than others. Now, that's okay to think because this is a common misconception where it's not really okay to think about stuff sometimes. But I mean, bro, if you're thinking about it, then if everything or if all of those thoughts are happening inside of you, then are there actually people who are getting hurt from the outside? Like it's a thought to think of, or just like how do I explain this? This is complicated. Like I'm going to just summarize this. It's basically just the people who the people who think that they're the greatest inside, but they don't show it on the outside. Now, this is good. This could be a good type of arrogance if if you are actually having these positive thoughts or encouraging thoughts inside you, and not like turning them into arrogance. Because sometimes you could actually blind yourself with arrogance as well. Like, you might not know that you can't do some things, or that those things that you want to do are still not up to par with your own level. Which is why I recommend to have the skill of humility in order to counter arrogance itself. Because that's the opposite of arrogance. It's humility. Now, of course, some of you guys might find it weird that I'm encouraging you guys to develop humility because it's humiliating. But in reality, humility could actually help you to gain more perspective of yourself. Because if you don't have humility, your arrogance will always take over. You will always think to yourself that you don't have anything to learn anymore, that you're too great to learn anything or experience new things, and that you're not missing out on anything. When in reality, you're missing out on a lot. You're missing out on knowledges or basically just wisdom that you could learn if only your arrogance didn't hold you back. Now you need to have these now you need to have humility in order to balance it. Because humility is kind of a bit like a reminder that this still isn't your peak form, or that you are still going to forever be a you're still going to be a learner forever, or a student of life forever. Humility reminds you of that. Now you need to have this humility as a proof that there's going to be so much more to learn. There's still going to be so much more to improve about yourself. That's a good thing. Because some people are just so fucking blinded by arrogance. Like whenever you try telling them things, or try teaching them things, or try giving advices, most of the times they won't even take it because they're too arrogant enough to take those advice. But yeah. And for those who are saying that arrogance is not normal, if there are some people, arrogance is definitely normal. Most of people experience it. And if you're actually someone who actually came with a bad background and actually improved themselves or made a lot of progress, if you came from down here and went up a lot, then I could tell you it's easy to be arrogant a lot. So you need to keep this in mind if you are somewhat making success. That success could sometimes, or most of the times, attract arrogance. You need to keep that in mind. I'm not saying that success is a bad thing, it is a good thing. Just make sure that you are balanced with arrogance, or that you counteract arrogance with humility itself. So, yeah.